Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast episode number 160, and I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. And today, we're delving into something good with Mondays with Mello, because I want to talk about doing things scared. And I'm going to go into detail with that and, how we go about, really doing something that we want to do, but we're worried and we're concerned. Sometimes we just need to take a leap of faith. Because there's one thing that I did on February 28, 2016. I published my first book. So as you're listening to this right now, think of how many years ago that was, which is a good 6.5 plus, when I finally took my leap of faith and decided to do what my purpose is in this life, and that is to write stories. And I'm going to sit here and be honest. I was scared like crap, to put it in PG-13 words, but you get what I'm saying, and you guys know what the real word is. Now, the book cover was horrible. The book was too big in size, it was actually an 8x11 when the average book is a 6x9, and it took me on a trip to LA to meet someone who's, involved in writing and doing certain things, and she said my book was just too big. You've got to make it smaller. The average book is 6x9, and I said, wow, you are right. And the formatting wasn't that great either, so I ended up having to reformat my book also. And I really had no idea how to market my book or even promote it. And I thought, well, I'm going to make it. It's going to be the book. It's going to take off. It's going to do great. And I'm going to be living on I'm going to be living in California on the West Coast, off the beach. And I started looking into homes and all of that stuff. Yeah, I was that guy. I was very naive to all of it. But I was scared. And I wrote an important book on social issues that focused on what men dealt with and went through. There was all of the uncertainty of what people will think about my first book. Will people understand my style of writing? Why I wrote it that way? What my goals and intentions are with writing this book? My book was available to the whole world for everyone to read. And this was scarier than all of the other things I've ever done in my life, which was, going away for college, moving across the country away from my family and friends, and, other things. The whole world didn't know of those previous things I mentioned. Publishing my first book was the biggest thing I've ever done or accomplished in my life. And yes, that outbeats graduating high school. It outbeats getting a college degree. It outbeats working for the NBA twice. It outbeats working for Major League Baseball. It outbeats working for Converse. It outbeats working for one of the biggest intramural adult leagues in the United States at the time, in Zox Sports, as a referee, and also working in operations for 8 months. It outbeat all of that. Because the uncertainty of how readers would perceive my content, well, it was important to me. And when I got reviews and they were positive, I was so happy. And as I published more books, my confidence started to build up. And I started to feel fulfilled in all of the content that I was writing. And after I published a few books, then I started my website and began writing blogs weekly. Then that grew and expanded more, and then I started this podcast. And I didn't know what to expect with my podcast either, but I've grown it over time, and I've enjoyed the journey. And my first podcast was not about me. It was about things that were going on in the world. And I spent 2 years doing a podcast that talked about all of the atrocities that were going on in the world. And then I hit a roadblock, and I started to get tired of talking about all of the negativity that was going on around me and around us. And then I decided it was time to revamp this podcast. It was time to focus on my journey as an author, what I've been through, my writing, motivating and inspiring you guys, and giving you guys the inside scoop on how I wrote my books. And I knew that if I went down that road, well, it would garner the people that really want to know about my journey a little bit. And I didn't want to just focus on talking about writing my books and, hey, buy my book. No, I don't want to do that. I want to give you guys good content, something that you guys will enjoy listening to, and in a short amount of time. Because, well, the reality of it is, well, how many people really are going to want to sit and listen to an hour-long podcast or an hour and a half? And in my mind, I was like, I don't think so. And then the other part of it is I don't like talking that long. I'm a pretty quiet and inquisitive guy, and I just want to get to the point. I want to tell you guys what's on my mind and my journey and what I'm going through, but also push you guys to do things that, well, you guys have questioned yourself on for so long. And I don't care how old you are as you're listening to this. Whatever you want to do with your life, you can do it. It's just you've got to make the avenues in the way for it. You've got to clear the path and go for it. And I've done a lot of things scared. I've done, book festivals scared and uncertain, and I've invested, into certain things scared out of my mind, thinking, what's going to happen with this situation, or what's going to happen with that situation, or is this going to work my way, or whatever the case is. And, well, some things went well, and, well, some things didn't. And the whole point of this is I need you guys to do things and know that you're either going to win or you're going to learn. You're not necessarily going to lose, because if you take a couple of bumps in the road and you fall on your butt, you're going to learn a lesson and, well, you're not going to do it again, right? And when it's all said and done, if you're uncertain about things, just do it scared and learn along the way. A lot of the things that, I've been able to do in all these years, I've learned a lot along the way. So, yeah, I used Fiverr, and I had a lady format my book, and, you think it looks good, but the reality of it is it doesn't. And then I, came across another person on Fiverr, and I had him formatting my books. And then I got to a place when I realized, I said, well, you're going to pay this guy about $50 to $60 each time you're going to publish a book. You're publishing about 5 books a year. So yeah, that adds up after a while. Why don't you learn how to do it yourself, right? So I decided to go hunting for a good website where I can format the books the way I want to do it and save a ton of money, right? So that's pretty much what I did. Now, at this point in time, I've published 40 books. Let's just say that guy charges me $50 on average. Plus, I got to tip the guy after because, well, he's going to do it in, 2 to 3 days? That's $2,000 of money that I would have spent in over 6 years paying him to format my books. Now, just think, he did about 4 of my books, so that's not too bad, right? So out of 40 books, he did 4, and about the other 35 or 36, I did myself. Now, was I scared to kind of figure it out with formatting my book? Of course. But I found a great website, and they're based out of Italy. And yeah, some of their website is in Italian, but it's okay. The majority of it is in English. And I learned how to format my books. The website is intuitive, it's very efficient, and I spend about $8 a month to keep all of my books on that website, and if I need to tweak or change things, it works. And I'm allowed to do an excerpt of my book. One chapter. I can pick whatever chapter I want, create an excerpt, and if you guys happen to go on my website, which is aquarianmindwrites.com, well, you can go to my book section and you can get an excerpt of pretty much a few of my books, right? And when you download it, you can see it, you can get a good read for it, and you know what kind of writing that I do, right? So I'm able to create an EPUB, a MOBI file, and a PDF that I can use for my printing, for my paperbacks, right? So it's all in trial and error. It's all in learning things. And it's a beautiful thing. And for me, why am I going to charge people who are in, the writing thing and they want to publish their books? Why am I charging them? I learned a lot of things on my own, so I'll just passing the torch on to people. And that's the goal for me. And the biggest part I want you guys to know is I'm always continuing to learn and grow and enjoy the process. And I want you guys to do the same, because that's the only way you're going to continue to pretty much grow. And you're going to strive for greatness even more the more you learn, the more you make mistakes, the more whatever it is that you're doing, the more you continue to do things, the better your outcomes are going to be. So what I want you guys to know is I did this whole process scared. And even some of my most controversial books that I've written, when I've published them, yep, I was scared until you get a couple of good reviews and you go, okay, I did something right. And I got my message across. And have I gotten a few bad reviews on my books? Yeah, but you know what? Those reviews, people didn't fully understand the concept of what my message was and what I was trying to convey. And I can't knock it because, well, guess what? People have their preferences. Anyway, with that said, I want to thank you guys for listening to my podcast. As always, have a good week, everyone. Be good, everyone, and go and accomplish your goals.